Hello everyone. So friends, in our previous lecture we saw that how we can stub a void method using do nothing method present in Mockito. So here when we are testing book service, which internally calls a void method in book repository that we want to stub out. So as it is a void method which returns nothing, so here instead of doing when then return, we simply do nothing dot when. And also one important thing to note is Mockito does the stubbing using the equals method. So here if you see, when we told Mockito that do nothing when book repository save method is called, and here if you see we passed book 1. So when we called book service.add book and we passed book 1 here, the same book went into the book repository save method, and Mockito figured out that book repository save method is getting called with the book which the user has told him to stub out. So it uses equals method in figuring this out. Also friend, here you can see the book which we created in our test is getting passed here and here. So therefore when Mockito does equals on top of it, it sees that book currently doesn't override the equals method. So Mockito uses equals of its parent, which is the object class, where it simply sees that book 1 passed here and here are referring to the same object. So it basically does this check. So here if we go to object class and if we go to equals, so here if you see it simply does the reference check, which if you look at the documentation says that if this object is same as the object passed into this method, then true will be returned or else false will be returned. So here as this book 1 is getting passed here and here, so whenever call will reach at this point, Mockito sees that this book and this book are referring to the same object using this double equal operator. So friends, here Mockito doesn't perform any check on that whether our book ID is null, where our title is the actual title, getting to saved, price is 500 or the local date is now. It simply sees that this book which we are passing it to do the stubbing is very similar to this book using this double equals operator. So friends, sometimes doing this stubbing is problematic. So let's see this with an example. Let's say I just simply copy this test and here I give the method name as test save book with book request. So friends, in book service, in order to demonstrate the problem, what I will do is I will create one more method. Now let's say instead of book, we are passing book request. So here we are creating a class name as book request. So we are creating it in source package stubbing. So friend, let's say book request has same fields as book apart from book ID. So we'll copy this stuff. We create a constructor. And let's say we generate the getters and setters. So here our save method takes a book. So here let's say we construct a book from this book request. So what we do is, so here if you go to the constructor of book, it takes book ID, title, price and publish date. So here we'll create one default constructor. And here what we'll do set title as, we'll do set price, set publish date as book. So friends, here we are creating a new book from this book request. So what we are doing is, we are getting the title from book request and we are setting it into book, and similarly with other properties. And then finally we are saving the book. So if I go to test, so here what we do is, I simply remove this part. So we need to test the add book, which takes in a book request. So here I need to provide this book request. So we'll first create the book request. So friends, here what we do is, let's say we simply copy this part and paste it here. So we are simply creating this book request using the constructor of book request. We'll remove this part. So here book request has title of Mockito in action, price is 500 and the publish date is localdate.now. So this we pass to our book service method. But here if you see that when the add book will be called, at the last step we are using this book repository to save it into our database, which takes a book, not the book request. So how we gonna tell Mockito about this book, that what to stub out? So here we copy these two lines where we are creating this book and telling Mockito that book repository when called with this book, then do nothing. So friend, here you can see the problem, that here we are creating this book with a new book, but in add book yet another book is getting created. So friends, here you can see that when add book will be called, when book repositories are saved with book is called, whose content is very identical with the stuff we are actually stubbing out. Let's say title as Mockito in action, price 500 and localdate.now. So friend, if I run the test, it looks like it should pass, because to our book repository save method, the book which is getting created here is with the same data which we have stubbed it here, because in our book request we are passing the same values for the title, price and the date. So if I run the test case, so here you can see the test case got failed and the exception is potential stubbing problem. So if you see the documentation of this exception, you will come to know that it says that book repository save was called with book with an instance this, but it says that you have stubbed the method with this book instance. So why it's so different? Because here we are creating a new book, and when we are testing for the add book, here we are again creating this new book. So these two books are not same. And if you see here, it says that this stubbing argument mismatch, what it indicates that user has done some mistake when writing the test cases. So friends, here Mockito catches this stuff. So friend, here if you see why Mockito is saying that it's a potential stubbing problem, because it internally uses the equals method and it sees that the book which is getting created here is not equal to the book which is getting created here, because this time this double equal operator will return a value false, because these two books are pointing to a different object. So when here we can see that the contents of both the books are identical, but in order to tell Mockito about this equality, what we need to do is, in our book we need to overwrite equals method so that Mockito sees that how we can compare the equality of both the books. So here, let's say we generate equals with the default IntelliJ stuff, and here we tell IntelliJ that generate equals and hashcode method with what properties. So here for time being, let's say we remove this book ID, provide the equality check on the book if title, price and publish date are equal. So we do next, we do finish. So this equals method will be created, which basically does the comparison on the price, title and publish date. So here if you see, if I run the test case now, so here you can see the test case got executed successfully. So what Mockito did was, when book repository or save method was called, so it took this book and it saw that there is one stubbing made on book repository save method with this book which we have created here in our test. So it took both the books and it called the equals method, and it found that the title, price and the publish date was same for both the books. So therefore it used this stubbing and it ran our test case successfully. So friend, here if you see, this potential stubbing problem is a very common exception when we deal with the Mockito. So the only thing we need to keep in mind is, when we are doing the stubbing, so the argument which we are passing to our stubs, basically it should match with the actual method call here, and this matching can be done on this double equal operator. Let's say if you are not overriding the equals method, and if you want to perform the equality on the actual contents like title, price and publish date, then you have to override the equals method, what we did here. So basically this tells Mockito what to do with the stubbing. So the example which we saw in our previous lecture didn't created new book in the add book method here. So what it actually did was, whatever the book one we created here and whatever the book one we passed here, to this add book we passed the same book. So it simply did the double equal operator check on it and it found that these are the same references. So friend, this was all about the potential stubbing problem. I hope you like this video. Thanks, have a nice day.